Hmm. Okay, let me share the screen. Hmm. I don't know why I cannot enrich. I don't know why something wrong with this. Okay, but can you read this? Okay, right? Is it too small?
Yes. Yeah, no problem.
Hmm. Yeah, let me read first. This one here. Ananda, because of the turning wheel of illusion in the object samsara, as a result of inversion caused by subjective student mind. Both subject and object are in harmony and combine to produce favorable conditions for 84,000 rising and sinking confused thought, which form the embryo in the egg for an incarnation at first birth total. Snack the they are found in plenty of all the worlds. This is the birth from egg. Um, I don't know whether it makes sense or not. So again, so because of attachment, mainly because attachment, because we see things are real, but they are illusion. So we discriminate subject and object, right? That's why we have favorable condition for 84,000 rising and sinking thought. That means all kind of thought within our mind that confused thought because of discrimination between subject and object. So from that time on, we have the birth of X. Mm, yeah. So similar pattern to all the birth too, right? Birth of egg, birth of monster, birth of wombs, and birth of transformation. It is similar pattern. But mainly hence is the discrimination of subject and object, good and bad, right? Mm.
Mhm. Yeah, that does seem to be essential.
Yeah. Mm. Mm. Yeah. Okay. Let's move on to the next one. Yeah, please.
Because of the turning wheel of moral infection in samsara as a result of inversion caused by subjective sensual minds, both subject and object sustain each other and combine to produce favorable conditions for 84,000 confusing divergent thoughts, which become fetuses in the wombs for incarnation as men, animals, dragons, immortal beings, etc. They are found in plenty all over the world. This is birth from wombs.
Mm.
So here there's this aspect of moral infection because the turning wheel of moral infection in samsara as a result of inversion caused by subjective sensual minds. I'm not sure what they mean by what it means by moral infection.
Mm. Oh, the white spot, is that right? Infection is like the white spot. Uh,
Yeah, like bacterial infection or fungus infecting
in the
the.
negative way, right? More infection in negative way, right?
Yeah, I've never heard infection in a positive way. Infection is always something that doesn't belong there that's causing harm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so probably that's the case, right? A moral declination, right? A moral negative declination, right? This is the meaning.
So maybe because of the sensual minds,
Mm-hmm.
so it's a result. The turning wheel of moral infection in samsara is a result caused of inversion caused by sensual minds. Okay. And so it's a sort of infection, morality becomes infected by sensual desire.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, and then that makes sense that that would be involved with like with humans, um, because there's much more of a component of such sensual desire in reproduction, whereas in birds or reptiles, there doesn't really appear to be the same sort of involvement in sensual desire associated with reproduction. Um, but what I also found interesting is it said immortal beings, right? Because there are long-lived heavenly beings, but the only beings that are beyond death are the Buddhas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So basically for being born from eggs, so they attach to the illusion, right? Dissemination of subject, object, and so forth. So beings who born from wombs, basically, um, uh, they have heavy attachment to sensual desire, right? Mm. Okay. All right. Because of the turning wheel of the attachment in objective samsara as a result of inversion caused by subjective craving mind. Both subject and object inflame each other and combine to produce favorable condition for 84,000 vacillating, confused thought, which become them emperor in humanity, incarnation as craving insect and green worms. They are found in plenty of all over the world. So here is the attachment of a craving mind. So similar to the top one or what? The top because of the sensual mind. So it raise some kind of moral infraction and moral mm, negative declination. So the one that born in the most because of attachment to the craving. Mm. Is that similar? What do you think?
Yeah, because the other one's focusing on sensuality versus craving.
Mm.
It seems like, yeah, sensual craving is a type of craving, but what sort of craving is not sensual, having to do with the senses? Perhaps it's just more um, kind of universal craving,
Mm.
not just having to do with like sexuality,
Mm-hmm.
but just it seems to have to do more with the animals. It seems to have to do more with what they eat,
Mm-hmm.
like their source of craving, because a lot of them they eat the blood of other animals or they are living on rotting carcasses. Um, so it's kind of if someone was really overwhelmed by craving, a consciousness was that they could be driven to this situation where their craving blinds them to like the reality of what they're actually craving.
Mm. Yeah, so yeah, for the most creatures, so basically they attach to the place, right? They crave for their place, they attach to the place. That's why they don't care any place that they could be born into. Uh, and so that's I think that's what it's about. And much with the place, right? Mm.
You said the place?
Yeah, the location.
Oh,
Mm.
like where they died?
No,
That
no.
there's
I'm talking because of the attachment to the place or location or certain places, like the
Mhm.
poster when uh, in the this is nearby the water or whichever in the tropical area and so forth. So they enjoy their times there, to they attach to their place there.
Oh yeah, because they have a much more limited range of where they can be born and they can't travel very far generally.
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, please. Yeah.
Because of the turning wheel of change in samsara, as a result of inversion caused by subjective, deceitful minds, both subject and object stimulate each other and combine to produce favorable conditions for 84,000 changing, confused thoughts, taking the shape of solid lumps for incarnation as beings which shed their skins, change their forms, and fly. They are found in plenty all over the world. This is birth by transformation. Yeah, interesting. Deceitful minds being an aspect of this because, like with transformation, it's a, I guess we could look at it as a caterpillar is kind of deceptive in the sense that you don't, just looking at it, if you don't know what a caterpillar is, you wouldn't expect that it would turn into a butterfly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, and that's because the turning wheel of change in samsara, it's a result of inversion caused by deceitful minds. Hmm. Okay.
But according to some Buddhist sutra, it mentioned that one who born, ones who take the birth in the heaven, actually, yeah, so they still were born from the womb, right? Not a transformation, right?
I thought some of the higher heavens there was transformation. Is
Mm,
what when Tikya Thap went over the Buddhist cosmology, he said some of the like very high heavens, or even human beings at the beginning of a kalpa
yes.
would be born by transformation.
Mm, but the points I want to say is that according to some Buddhist sutra, they say that in order to be born in most of the heaven, the being should be trustworthy, should have mm, proper mind, or no, I mean that no telling lie.
Mhm.
So if they have deceitful thought, that means this go against from having the proper mind, a straightforward mind. Probably, I think the Buddha mentioned here is the low, right? The low beings who have that type of
Yeah.
transformation, like you could mention, right? From the worms transform to capil capilleta, what do you call capi?
Oh, caterpillars.
Yeah, capilleta. Yeah, yeah, probably the low beings, right? Not the celestial beings, right?
Yeah, it's interesting because in the birth from wombs, it mentions immortal beings and dragons, but in this transformation, they don't talk about like the hell realms or the higher realms. So yeah, they seem to just it seems to just be focusing on the sort of animals that are here on Earth.
Yeah, so that definitely the hell realm beings they born down there through their transformation, right? Mm. So they don't have parents down there. They just transform the body to pay their karma down there. And I think that's the Buddha just mentioned in general. But for the one that will be reborn in the Western Pure Land of Amitabha Buddha, they transform themselves into a lotus flower. They're born in a lotus flower. So probably different uh, uh, view or a different subject from here, right?
I think so. It seems like it.
Yeah. But according to Buddhist sutra, most of the heavenly beings, they born from wombs, not from transformation. So, for example, there's some story mentioned that uh, in the lower levels mm, of celestial realms, so whenever they get hug each other, that what they call that committee sexuality, a sexual act is different from human. It's more lighter, and even the higher they go up, the less sexual attachment they do. So even in some heaven, they just touch each other,
Mhm.
come up sexual act, and
Or
that
even look, right? Isn't there one where they just, yeah.
even look at them, they will even look at each other. Of course, in the craving mind, with the craving mind, so they would produce another heavenly beings. So in the form of worms, born, right? And
Mhm.
of course, the other beings they were born in the transmission way too, but still, in general, they born from the wombs, not carried, not being carried by the mother like in human realm, but it's be subtle. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Because of turning wheel of steep disposition in objective samsara as a result of inversion caused by subjective hindering mind by subject and object adherence and combine to produce favorable conditions for 84,000 miracle translucence and confused thought, which take solid form to candidate incarnate as people whose luminous quality foreboars good and evil. They are found in plenty all over the world. These are the heritage and mysteries have been formed. Wow.
Hmm.
Uh, steep disposition, steep disposition, hindering mind. Okay. So have solid form. So, but they still have the bright body, right?
Yeah.
So that's heritage. Mystic having form. Who is that?
Yeah,
Heritage.
mystics and heretics, but in a physical form. I mean, in ancient India, they had mystics like Babaji is a sort of mystic that's said to like have lived for a really long period of time and have all sorts of powers. And
Mm.
when people see him, he emits some sort of light. Um, so maybe it's that like that sort of phenomena.
Or nowadays in modern age, there's some second people who could foresee or who could um, recognize what happened in the past, right? Psych psychic detective. You heard about that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a psychic that lives here in Indianapolis who told someone that I know, her that she was married, and she told this married woman that she was going to have twins. They were going to be boys. One was going to have blonde hair, one was going to have brown hair, and she described their qualities, like their characteristics. One's going to like music or something like that, like details. And 10 years later, this woman had twins that matched the description that this psychic gave.
Wow.
Yeah, like that's pretty astounding. Like,
Mm,
um, so yeah, I've definitely I've heard about stuff like that, and just that's the only one I've heard of firsthand that was impressive.
mm, mm. So that's her or him. That's
Her.
her job. Her job to predict people future.
She doesn't always predict people's future. Sometimes she focuses on helping people understand like what's happening in their life now based upon their past lives.
Oh,
So she tries to help them kind of be at peace with what's happening and understand it. And then sometimes she gets senses about the future
oh, okay.
and will share that. I was curious. This was maybe like 8 years ago or so. Um, I was curious, so I went and saw her. She didn't predict anything for me, and she just kind of didn't really say a whole lot, actually. Didn't Nothing that was really impressive, or it all kind of made sense, but nothing astounding.
Hmm. Hmm. So basically, the mystery I have informed the mystery, that's the one that has some special skill, right? Like there's like that psychic people, right?
Hmm.
Hmm. Um. Hmm. Okay. Hmm. So again, in Buddhist view, those type of skill, right, it come from their cultivation in the past, right? It's not come from the sky. They were not given that they build up that type of skills since many past life, huh? Mm.
Right? They're not as reliable as in arhats,
Mm.
like psychic powers, is my understanding, because they're kind of intermittent. And that was my experience with seeing her. Like she couldn't just direct it and tell the future or even tell the past of an individual. It was
Mm.
kind of like she could sometimes see things, like things would sometimes come to her, but it wasn't reliable. It wasn't like, you just turn on the weather channel and they're telling you the weather. It was hit or miss.
Mm. Mm. How about the other people who predict the future? Is there some famous? What's his name? Is that from NO? No,
Nostradamus.
Ramos, do you think it's for true or they just uh, mm, project project himself as a predictor for the future? What do you think?
I never followed Nostradamus in particular and what predictions he made.
Mm,
There are quite a few authors who wrote about the future,
mm,
and some of their stories are remarkably prescient with how they wrote. So I think we can, like an ordinary person, can have some insight. They can see a pattern, and they can use just their normal thinking mind to consider what's going to happen on a big scale. And some people are better at it than others. And then I do think there does appear to be a way for relatively normal people who haven't achieved like the holy status of arhatship or aren't a bodhisattva or protected Buddha, that they can periodically get kind of glimpses
mm,
of parts of things, but it's
mm.
just not reliable.
How about the professor who uh, predict yes, uh, uh, the presidential election correctly for 9 times? You know that?
Oh wow.
You don't know?
No, I hadn't heard about that.
Presidential. Yes, then you don't know about that?
Hmm.
I see here. All right here. Let me share with you here. Of course, right, professor who correctly predict 9 presidential election. That's him. So he uh provides some logical and reasonable explanation how he he did that. Mm, yeah, let's see here. That's pretty interesting. It's just yes, I mean the day before yesterday, or even one day ago. Yeah. Mm. So, oh, uh, you believe in the horoscope?
Not seriously. Um, that like I know we have an electromagnetic field,
Mm-hmm.
and these planets have electromagnetic fields. So could these electromagnetic fields of the planets interact with our own field in some way? Maybe, but I don't think generally the horoscope's a great explanation. It is interesting how though the
Mm-hmm.
traits within horoscopes sometimes match up. Like if someone is a Pisces,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times their traits match up with it. But I don't see how it could be
Mm-hmm.
like reliable.
You know this book, I Ching
Hmm?
book, so
I
they
know
can,
of it.
yeah. So some people they want to look at their horoscope through their Chin book or chain, and now they can computerize. Of course, I heard that yeah, some tech guy they use computer to analyze or sort out the people fortune or people future based on this book. I have
Hmm.
not heard about that. Anyway, so the point I want to say is that again, this type of skill can be built, right? Can be created, right? By some logic, some mm, analysis, right? Mm. So let's see. Yeah. Okay.
Well, one thing I found interesting associated with this is I regularly have a couple different experiences. One is like I'm driving down the road and I think of something, and like it's generally it's like a road I haven't been on in a long time, if ever. I think of something that's kind of random, and then there's a billboard with that thing on it.
Hmm.
Like maybe I'm thinking about a giraffe or whatever, and then 5 minutes later, there's a billboard with a giraffe on it.
Really?
Yeah, that's happened to me at least, it's got to be a few dozen times.
Wow.
And then another one is I'll think of a person I've seen as a patient in the past, and I haven't seen them for like half a year or a year or 2 years or 3 years or whatever. It's been a long time. So I don't really have a reason to think about them. But I'll just think about them from nowhere. And then within 2 weeks, frequently they end up scheduling.
Wow. Yeah.
So I think there's something on that, like we're connected in this unconscious way. And, if I could do it actively, if I could use it in some sort of way, that would be great. But it's just sort of unimportant things, basically, just things that don't really, it's not like I need to know them or anything. It's just like random, arbitrary things.
Wow. So do you should have that sensitive mind or sharp mind then. Yeah. Otherwise you would not have that type of thought or what they call coincidence. So sometimes, I think it's happened to many of us. Like sometimes we may foreseen something happen for our life, right? Is there some signal or some signal from our body and our mind, so we would recognize, oh, something wrong or something happening. Here, let's put it this way. You know, let's say I give you one example. Let's say many times I pay attention on that. Many times, if somehow I have the movement in my left eyes, I for a while depend upon the vibration. If it's strong, something bad will happen to me. You know about that?
I know the like how the eye can do that, how the muscle kind of it'll like twitch without you doing anything.
Mhm.
But I've never associated it with something bad happening.
And the right eyes, most of the time, the left eyes of my left eyes, it have strong vibration. So not right away, but one day, a few hours later on, I would know there's something wrong there, something bad happening. Yeah,
Wow, yeah.
live in our Vietnamese tradition too. Many people have that type of instant.
Hmm.
Yeah, for the right eyes, if it's a lot of vibration or moving, so it indicate that there's some good thing happening to us. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
I'll see. I'll pay attention and see if it holds true for me because I've had the Twitch thing before, but never connected it with anything.
Yeah, and if it's some kind of movement on our left arms or left thigh, yeah, I remember that actually anyway. So if something happened in my body in the left side, if something happened then in a negative way.
Mm,
Mm. In general, not every time, but I think from 80 to 90%. Yeah. Anyway, so every one of us has different sentiment, right? Have different skill. Sometimes we can recognize things right away. Sometimes we may not. Other people like you, right? You think someone else, and they pop up again, right? Right.
hmm.
So
Yeah, I feel like it's them thinking about scheduling and they're thinking about me, and that's what prompts it. I don't think it's like I make it happen. Uh,
really?
no, yeah, I don't think I make it happen. I think I've tried where I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna think about this person and see what happens. Yeah, I don't think I have any power. I think it's just like something dings on my end when someone's planning to come see me. Like,
Let's say, if why don't you think more people so that they can come to see you?
yeah, I don't think I don't think it is from my control. I think it's a passive thing on my part. I'm just receiving something. Yeah.
Okay, but somehow, if that's the case, you can be a receiver for them. You can think of them, right? And they can come to see you then. Yeah.
I if they need to, you know, I don't want to. If I had the power, I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to use it for that if I
Yeah,
could.
that's
Yeah.
why. That's why in Buddhist meditation it said that the peaceful we are, the pure our mind are, the easy for us to foresee something in the future. And of course, I think it's so logical. When our mind is so calm, right? We could recognize things as the way they are. But when we have a lot of confusion in our mind, there's no way for us to see what's going on, even in front of our eyes, right? So it's a
Mhm.
logical way. Or when our mind calm down enough, like the pure water, we reflect something on the surface. So we can have a kind of strong sentiment, it's a strong mm, prediction, a strong skill in prediction of something happen in the future. Mm. All right, so let's finish today, right? Okay.
Okay.